But it's clear to me there are two types of visas: the residency visas, as in you go and live there for at least 6 months a year, and the other kind of visa, visa by residence or residency by investment, is the golden visa that you've all been hearing about. We're just going to talk very briefly about that golden visa. As Sara said, there are various ways you can qualify for the golden visa, which means you do not live in Portugal, you are there for 7 days a year, but it has all the advantages Sara mentioned. Now, one of the ways that Sara explained that you can get the golden visa is by putting an investment into Portugal in what are called golden visa compliant funds. Now, our friend and colleague David Russell from New Frontiers Fund is here with us only, on stage because he's exhibiting, but also because you, David, run one of these funds that is golden visa compliant, i.e. people who put money into this fund get a golden visa. Could you tell us very briefly who you are, what the fund does, and why you believe it will survive any future changes of government, changes of mind by the government? Yes.
I'm not in charge of the fund, actually.
No,
they've quite done that yet, but
yes,
I'm going to make a push for it. I'm one of the advisors to New Frontiers. So we are a fully golden visa eligible qualifying venture capital fund. As Sara alluded to, there's a number of ways in which you can obtain a golden visa, one of which is to invest 500,000 euros into a fund, qualifying fund or funds. And people choose to do one or multiple funds, but you're investing a significant amount of money. So the first thing is important. It has to be qualifying. It has to qualify for the golden visa. You do not want to waste 2 years of your life invested in a fund and somebody turns around at the point when you would be getting your first initial permits and says, well, actually, you've not been in a qualifying fund after all, and you've wasted 2 years of your life. Any fund worth its salt, we will provide you with documentation, assurances. Any fund worth their salt will be able to say whether or not they qualify under the new rules which came out a couple of months ago. We are fully compliant. We basically invest in early stage solar projects in southern Portugal. One point Christina made as well is the most important thing as well, apart from it being qualifying, is Portugal has an excellent financial regulator in the CMVM, equivalent to FCA. Make sure any fund or funds that you're looking at are fully regulated by CMVM. And they vet the individuals involved, the systems and processes they ensure within the fund, there's reporting duties, all the usual stuff you would expect from any investment fund. But for goodness sake, make sure any of the funds you're looking at investing in for your golden visa journey are regulated by CMVM. New Frontiers we are as well. The third thing I would say is a little bit of a bonus would be to try to invest in a fund that is aligned with government policy or opinion. Portugal has set some significant targets, for I think it's 2030, for reliance on traditional energy sources. They're really pushing solar. They've actually created what they call an Acordo List, which is about 85 very good quality projects that they want to drive investment into. What we've decided within the fund is initially we will just target investment into those projects because they've been guaranteed a grid connection. For any of you aware of solar projects, one of the most difficult things to sometimes achieve is a good grid connection or a good grid connection offer. And these will all get that in the future. We've been guaranteed that timescales. So that's already a tick in any of the projects we're looking at. So those are the three things I would say from a perspective, for goodness sake, make sure they can give you some documentation that says this is qualifying, make sure the CMVM regulated, and if you can, invest in something that's aligned with government policy. Because the other thing is, it's very unlikely in future to be closed off. You see what I mean? So we believe at New Frontiers, we're a pretty good bet for the next 5-6 years anyway with what we're investing in. And we've got a stall at the front.
Thank you, David. That's an excellent summary of one aspect of investing in a golden visa or applying for a golden visa. Now, I'm just going to ask our colleague and chamber member, Mark Penney, from Suncap Visa, a couple of questions on this. Now, Mark, we've been talking about the golden visa, which is one kind of visa that people can apply for, i.e. they don't want to live in Portugal year round, but they want the freedom of Schengen movement, etc. Just tell us a little bit about SumCap and what you're doing, and you're UK based, advising people going to Portugal. Yeah.
Christina. Yeah, so my background was I was a financial advisor for nearly 35 years. I ran wealth management, I ran quite a lot of money, over 300 million. And then I, like John Mather, decided that retirement was on the cards. I actually bumped into John. John probably got into this whole area. My family live in the UK, but I predominantly work with UK residents to assist them to move to Portugal. We listen, we guide, we work alongside. This is our motto, this is what we try to achieve. Our objective is very simple. We get to understand what you want to do. So the initial process I take people through is I listen to what you are telling me in terms of your family, your background, the time scale. I then start to pull together an outline plan. I then present that to you, normally in an email, which sets out certain options. And then we seek tacit approval. So you guys say, okay, I like that, I don't like that. Can you change that? Can we talk about that? And then once we've got that outline plan, we then start to implement. So we then work with the immigration specialists. So you've heard Tanya talk about, and Sara talk about how we go about the whole process with the immigration. We work with those people. We guide you through the whole process. And then from there, we then move to the next stage, is then looking at the visa options. At the beginning of the year, there were some 100 different golden visa funds out there. That dropped to about 36. And now what we're seeing is, because the legislation has changed, and because so many things are happening, lots of golden visa providers are having to consider what to do next. So my advice to you today would be, don't rush into anything quickly. There are options, there are times, and what we're seeing now is a flood of new things coming back to the market, which embrace both investments at 500,000 and also the cultural heritage side of things, which is the lower level visas, the 250,000 euros, and if it's in a low density area, it can be as low as 200,000. So what we're seeing is new things coming to the marketplace. David is a good example. I work with David and introduce clients to him. So from that point of view, it's getting a balance. A lot of people talk to me and say, well, in an ideal world, we'd love to have some income from the strategy. So what I tend to look at is funds that also can give quite a good yield. There's several funds out there that give 4 or 5% yield. But at the end of the day, you're entrusting your capital with a group, and you're hoping now at the end of that 5 or 7 year period, you're going to get back a reasonable return. So the process really is a twofold thing. One is to look at what visa, whether it's a D visa, whether it's a golden visa, what the time frame is, whether it's an immediate move, whether it's a gradual move. And then once we've established that, we then move to that next stage of, once the people have sorted out their visa solution, is to then look at the real estate side of it. There's people there. We all now know that real estate doesn't apply. We can't use that. We're saying the capital transfer route. So it's really about being practical. The hardest thing about everybody is managing their expectations, because to a large extent people have this idea of what things are worth, and the reality is kind of quite different. But that's really
that's a great summary. Thank you very much, David. Mark. Now, last but not least, Adalberto Pucca. Now, Adalberto, you work for Global Citizen Solutions, another chamber member. Global Citizen Solutions have been in this market for 6 or 7 or 8 years. You help individuals all over the world decide where to live, but Portugal is top of the list, and you do a lot of work relocating people to Portugal. Mm-hmm. Just before we finish the panel, tell us briefly, Adalberto, who's a typical client that comes to Global Citizens, and what do you do for them?
Sure. So we actually have, and we're proud to have, a wide array of clients. There we go. That sometimes can be a golden visa. So as a company, we assisted in 2021 close to 30% of golden visa applications nationally. That number, we've kept that, but we work in a way with our clients where we understand that there is an asymmetry of information when a client comes into a new market when it comes to considering different types of investments that they're not very familiar with. So in that way, we decided not to represent investments. We decided to represent investors. So we have, and still do, a real estate division called Goldcrest in-house. So clients, of course, obviously no longer invest in real estate for the golden visa, but if you're moving to Portugal, sometimes you consider buying a property. We help them on that side, assisting nationally. And when it comes to golden visa, so funds, of course, are a great method. We now see it to become the most popular route for the golden visa for good reasons. We assist clients in identifying the funds that qualify for the golden visa, making sure they're registered with CMVM, that they're investing at least 60% of their capital within the Portuguese economy. All the criteria, we look also at the capital rates. We want our clients to invest in funds that are solid. From there, of course, they can choose. They can even diversify their investment across different funds. But of course, always providing a neutral, neutral perspective, and they can select from there. Of course, through the D visas, that's also something that we work with quite a lot. Anywhere from the D2, D3 to the D7, and now the D8, which over the last year we've seen a massive growth in the market. We also, sometimes identify what path is easier, and then from there provide all the guidance, all the legal services through our internal legal team, and then of course all the way until accomplishment and later citizenship as well.
Wonderful. Thank you. Now, Global Citizen also has a stall outside, and I know Adalberto will stay on the stall for the next the rest of the day. Now, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being on my panel. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.